And it has just gone 9 o'clock and it's time to face the nation. My name is Oliver Dixon. Thank you so much for your time this evening. It was quite a bizarre occurrence in Parliament today when the ad hoc committee had to adjourn earlier than what it had originally planned. That is because the handling of Cedric Nkabinde, the Chief of Staff to Minister Senzo Mchunu's evidence and testimony was unverified. Well, what happens in that instance? We're going to be speaking to the chairperson of that portfolio committee, that is Soviet Lekganyane, who joins us here on the show tonight. And then we're going to be talking to Alan Winde, the Premier of the Western Cape. The police ombudsman in the Western Cape had conducted an investigation into what was infiltration of gangs into the police. What had happened to that report? Well, Alan Winde sat on it for quite a while and has now released a redacted version of it. What is contained in it? Alan Winde tells us on the show tonight. And then we speak to the attorneys of a company called Black Rock Mining. Now they're taking legal action against Kenneth Makate, who is the please call me benefactor, so to speak, after having settled with Vodacom for a large sum of money. They say 40% of that money, BlackRock that is due to them, given that they were what they call earlier backers of Nkosana Makate. He says, well, no, they don't deserve any of that. Papers have been filed in the High Court. We speak to the attorney and I'll tell you all about it. But first, here's my comment. And so, today what we saw in Parliament was quite a bizarre occurrence of events. Patently inconsistent information with his actual written testimony is what Cedric Nkabinde had presented today. And his excuse for what is the reason for this is that his gadgets were seized by the South African Police Services for investigations. You would recall that there was a raid that had taken place and he therefore was unable to verify and corroborate key details and information. Take a look at this.
In terms of arranging the meeting with Brown, there will be no other staff member who would have been involved because it was only me having a Brown's number and contacting Brown. And another thing with the statement, I was truthful and very open to the evidence leaders. Then they drafted the statement for me. When they drafted a statement for me, after we consulted, we checked it, rectified, but I was open to them that I'm not too sure about the sequence of events because I don't have anywhere to recollect. But I am confirming that a sequence of events, Mkhwanazi would have called me after that meeting.
Under questioning, we saw the integrity of that statement begin to falter and wilter. For instance, when questioned about Ket Matlala's political broker, Brown Mokgotsi, Nkabinde presented testimony so profoundly inconsistent with his written statement that it seemed less about an inability to verify information using his phone, but rather a pathetic attempt at wanting to create a situation of plausible deniability. That's quite brittle. Members of the committee went as far as suggesting that he be charged for perjury. Take a look.
You should also remember when he started his statement, right, we even adjourned for a good 3 or 4 hours because he came with a statement that was from the Commission. So you cannot say that as the EFF we have not been fair, number one. Number two, it only came to light during Becky Tele's statement that Lieutenant General gave incorrect information. The President, Commander-in-Chief was the first one to stand up and say there must be apology, he must come back here and he has to amend the statement. So when he comes back, we will make a decision on whether we also need to go and open a case. Remember, the Chief of Staff, straight out, he said that he was thumb-sucking. We didn't get the same thing from the other witnesses.
So here's my take. There's an epistemic difference between inconsistent information versus incorrect information. That is to say, there's a difference between an innocuous misremembrance versus an attempt to obfuscate. Nkabinde was very clearly attempting to obfuscate. There was also a question of how, if at all, he knew or remembered any meetings he might have facilitated between Minister Senzo Mchunu and Brown Mokgotsi. Take a look.
Since I joined Ministry Office in August, I only recall one meeting which I facilitated between Minister and Brown Mohotsi, who in turn arrived with several other people, 4 or 5 of them. Then I also recall facilitating a second meeting with Brown Mohotsi, which that meeting could not materialize. The guests or people also had other agenda engagements. Then I had to cancel that meeting. So that, since I joined, that are 2 meetings then I can recall. In facilitating those meetings, Brown Mohotsi had to know my number and I have to know his number. Because now I'm facilitating, Minister gave me Brown Mohotsi's number for me to facilitate with Brown Mohotsi.
Yeah, I think following this, there may be no need for Nkabinde to still continue to be on the payroll of the state after this. As Chief of Staff, Nkabinde draws a salary from the state of anywhere between 1.4 to 1.8 million per annum. His blatant disregard of what is an important process in democratic accountability unfolding warrants his dismissal. At least I believe so, but perhaps you see it differently. So let me know what your take is. Do you believe that Nkabinde has a justifiable reason for presenting Parliament with a statement littered with incorrect information? You can send us your WhatsApp voice notes on 078 459 1897. That's 078 459 1897. And remember to tell us your name and surname and where you're sending the voice note from. And please, I beg you, keep it to under 30 seconds so we can get through as many of them as possible. And you can send us an X at Face the Nation SABC. And so I think it's important that we have this conversation. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu's Chief of Staff, Cedric Nkabinde, was sent packing away from Parliament earlier than what they had expected at the ad hoc committee that is investigating allegations made by Lieutenant General Nkabinde. Nkabinde's testimony appeared to collapse under scrutiny, leaving members of Parliament to seek legal advice on how to deal with the contradictory statements he made during his testimony. We now speak to the chairperson of the ad hoc portfolio committee, Soviet Lekganyane, who joins us now. Soviet, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Quite a bizarre unfolding of events in the ad hoc committee today. And I think it's important that we speak about the background work that happens before a witness appears before the portfolio committee. Talk to us about what goes into the preparation of a statement and testimony by a witness before they get to appear before the portfolio committee.
Good evening to you and your viewers. Let me hasten to indicate that we start by writing a letter to the identified witness, requesting them to make themselves available for engagement with the legal team. Then the legal team, once they have confirmation that the witness is available, they will arrange a date where the witness will be informed that he or she can come with his or her legal representative. They will be taken through the terms of reference of the ad hoc committee. And if there are previous statements or allegations that would have been made, which will require them to make their own statement and in part respond to those allegations, they will be advised. From there, once they have concluded the process of drafting a statement, the statement will be sent back to the witness and their legal team to go through it and satisfy themselves that the content in the statement is what they know and what they would have deposed with the legal team that we use in Parliament. And in the event they are satisfied, they will send back signed copies. They can make corrections and send back signed copies. And thereafter, there will be a process of ensuring that the statement is sworn before it appears to the committee or is circulated to committee members. It must be a sworn statement, meaning it must be having a stamp of the commissioner of oath or any other person to do that.
Yeah. Can you confirm and verify for us whether all those steps that you had just outlined had taken place in exactly that sequence in the event? Sorry, Soviet, can you hear me? Seems like we've lost Soviet. Seems like the line is not quite stable with us, so I'm going to attempt that one more time. Hopefully you can hear me. You've outlined that sequence of events to us about what is supposed to unfold before a witness appears before the committee. Can you confirm and verify for us whether those were the exact steps in exactly that sequence that were followed in the preparation of the statement and testimony of Cedric Nkabinde?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. If you have been following today's proceedings, you might have heard the witness when he confirmed that the statement was sent to him. He read the statement and sent it back to the legal team of Parliament.
Yeah. Let's talk about the excuse that he proffered for those discrepancies in his sworn statement. He says not having his gadget had deeply inconvenienced him and he was unable to confirm dates and key really material information, something that he raised with the committee's legal counsel beforehand, at least he says. What's your take on that, particularly because he says he raised it with the legal counsel before appearing before committee?
Look, that is inexcusable. We don't accept such excuses. The witness holds a very senior position in the office of the minister, and one of his daily duties is to manage the activities of that office and also approve whatever activity the office of the minister has to run on that day or in that week or in that month. At the beginning of every month, he's the one who leads the charge in terms of ensuring that there is a program which will be allocated activities and dates. He knows on which day the minister will be in a particular event. And so all those events that have happened under his supervision, even if he might not have had the gadgets, his colleagues could have reminded him, especially that he's not working alone in that office. There are other people who are there. I think to refresh him would have been advisable before he came before the committee to say the things or make the inconsistent statements that he made today.
Yeah. Did Cedric Nkabinde have the benefit of being able to access his own legal advice and counsel in the preparation of his statement?
Yes, that happened. I mean, even today he came with his legal team. All the witnesses, when they come before us, they come with their legal team, and we also request them to introduce them before the committee.
Yeah. Now, he admitted to, quite literally, thumb-sucking the dates that he gave the committee. I think that's quite akin to disrespecting the process. And there are a number of sanctions available to Parliament in this instance. One of those is that appearing before Parliament and giving a sworn statement before Parliament and lying to Parliament in the process of either written and sworn statement or verbal testimony is akin to perjury. In the same way it would be in a court of law. And Parliament can go and pursue Cedric Nkabinde for perjury before a court. Is that something that the committee, or yourself as chairperson, will be taking under consideration, or will you defer that to the Speaker of Parliament?
Look, the legal team of Parliament must advise, because that is their responsibility. whether they wish to advise the committee to write to the Speaker on what action can be taken, or whether they directly write to the Speaker and advise the Speaker on what they think must be done. I think they can help us in that regard.
Yeah, and of course what we're dealing with here is quite visibly a recalcitrant witness, someone who seemingly is attempting at shielding themselves rather than being forthcoming and transparent and assisting the ad hoc committee. Ultimately, that's what witnesses are there for, right? They're there to assist the ad hoc committee in uncovering information and ultimately making an assessment of that information. Of course, legal advice on this is still pending. But what is to happen now of the testimony that was proffered today by the witness, and will the committee consider that when it makes the assessment, or will it be a fresh start?
Look, we have sent him back because where we stand, we are satisfied without using any superlative. Let's just say it in a simple language and say he underperformed. And so that's why we sent him back to say, go back, make self-reflections, compose yourself, and write a statement that you think deserves to be presented before the Parliament and the people of South Africa, especially that you are in public service, occupying a very senior position. Think about the people who look at you to provide strategic leadership in that department. Think about the citizens who look at that department for services that will better their lives. And when you have done so, write a statement that you think befits an occasion of the magnitude of the proceedings of the ad hoc committee.
Yeah. Perhaps to ask this, and I think this is quite the important question, was it your expectation, and is it your expectation, that the evidence leader and the evidence team be able to detect these sort of things before a witness appears, so that they can be handled before a witness appears?
No, it's not possible for you to detect that. The evidence leaders have worked through a sworn statement, which the witness has consented to. And then the witness came today, and then in his oral testimony, remember, the inconsistencies are only picked up when the oral testimony contradicts what is on the sworn written statement, which will be at the disposal of the committee at that time. So the sworn written statement has been circulated with the committee members, and the witness today in his oral testimony, that is where those glaring weaknesses were detected in his evidence, and those are the inconsistencies that made the committee to begin to doubt the quality and the veracity of evidence that was being presented before it.
Yeah. And just the last question here, Soviet, what implication does this have on other witnesses who seek to, after the fact, alter the information they presented in their sworn statement? In this instance, very specifically referring to General Mkhwanazi.
I missed you there. I think your line was disrupted. I couldn't pick that up. May you please restate your question.
What implication and what precedence will this moment set for other witnesses who would seek to, after the fact, alter information presented in their sworn statement? In this instance, I'm very specifically also referring to General Mkhwanazi.
Look, the cases will differ from one witness to another, because in the case of General Mkhwanazi, he accepted the omission to say, look, I will send you a corrected version. I might have missed certain facts, I admit that I was not supposed to have placed this on record. So he accepted. But look, in the case of today, you have a situation where the witness appeared to willfully and knowingly misrepresented the facts, because during his oral testimony, if he might have forgotten the sequence of or the chronology of development, he could have said to us, like other witnesses will do when they are asked questions, to say, at the time we break, I will go and refresh these facts, and then I will come back and give you the accurate answers. He could have done that, especially in his oral testimony. But for oral testimony to contradict a sworn statement is a problem.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Really do appreciate it. That is Honorable Soviet Lekganyane, the chairperson of the ad hoc committee. Now, we've been bringing you that breaking news story on a group of Palestinian refugees who had landed in South Africa from Kenya today and are facing troubles regarding their paperwork. Griselda Lewis is coming to us live now from OR Tambo International Airport. Griselda, what is the latest that we know about the Palestinian refugees and the paperwork that they have?
Well, what I can officially report on at this particular stage is that the 153 Palestinians are still on the tarmac in that aircraft for several hours now. In fact, just about an hour or so ago, or even less, we saw a statement come through from Global Airways, which confirmed that the 153 passengers had travelled on a charter flight from Nairobi to Johannesburg, and that they've been denied entry into South Africa. Global Airways basically says, in terms of immigration laws, it had shared the list of passengers and their travel credentials with the relevant South African authorities 24 hours prior to the charter flight's departure. And they say that at no point prior to landing at 7:50 this morning were they informed that the passengers would be deemed inadmissible. Global Airways says it's cooperating with the Border Management Authority and will assist with the repatriation or onward travel arrangements for the affected passengers. Now, those last passages there seem to indicate, because Global Airways says it's cooperating with the BMA and will assist with repatriation or onward travel. We don't know what sort of arrangement has been reached at this stage. There's been no official word from the Border Management Authority at this particular time. We are still expecting a statement to be released to the media any time from now. That has not happened yet at this particular stage, but of course a little bit earlier on you would have seen on our sister programs we had spoken to a civil society social worker who was on that aircraft. He has now been released from that aircraft. That is Nigel Branken. He's a social worker with civil society. Nigel, you've just gotten off that aircraft. First of all, talk to us a bit about that. You've been let off. Talk to us about the circumstances relating to that and the condition of the passengers at the stage.
Okay, so before I start, I just want to make it absolutely clear, Griselda, the way you framed this, of starting with giving a statement from global aviation authorities, those people are involved in human trafficking. They're an Israeli-linked operation, and it's not okay for you to start the framing of this when we have people sitting on the tarmac by framing it by the company that has brought them in unlawfully. Secondly, it is the Border Management Authority that is not...
Sorry, let me just answer you on that one. A statement was released. Remember that the media is waiting for any information at this particular time. The Border Management Authority, we do understand, is going to release a statement. We need to understand exactly what is going on. No information has been given to the media. We've got to indicate what Global Airlines is saying, because they are confirming that indeed there are 153 passengers on there. I thought, let me just clarify that in terms of my framing. Hence now I ask you the questions pertaining to what the condition of those passengers is. You may continue.
Griselda, both siding a genocide is never okay, and that's what you're doing in this framing. You are both siding a genocide, and it is not okay. I want to tell you, when you start with framing it by putting the story forward that they have complied with the law when they haven't, is completely irresponsible and unethical journalism. I will not continue this interview now with you because you are being unethical as a journalist. Those people deserve refugee status, and again you framed it at the beginning with the very people that are violating our constitution and our rights. Griselda, you are out of order. I'm red carding you. This interview is over.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Well, Mr. Brandon basically says that he's not satisfied at this particular stage with the fact that a statement that was released from Global, was it Global Airways? Yes, Global Airways. That statement dropping about an hour ago, indicating that the 153 passengers who travelled from Nairobi to Johannesburg have been denied entry into South Africa. He basically says he's not satisfied with the fact that we're mentioning that this particular airline has now released information. You must recall, of course, that at this particular stage, no media at all have received any details. We have been informed as the SABC that the speaking authority on this particular matter is the Border Management Authority. At this particular stage, we've received absolutely no information from the Border Management Authority pertaining to what the next steps are. And this statement also does indicate that the Global Airways is cooperating with the Border Management Authority, so which means that they are the authority at this particular stage that are supposed to be speaking on the matter. We've not heard from them at this particular stage, so Mr. Brandon, not satisfied with the fact that we have started off with the latest information that certainly has come through pertaining to this particular matter. So as it stands at the moment, he has gone back inside the airport. He was the civil society social worker that was on that aircraft, and we do understand that he did not want to get off the aircraft until this matter had been resolved. We do not know how the matter is going to be resolved. There is no communication at this particular stage pertaining to what happens next, whether there will be a repatriation or an onward travel. But certainly this statement from this Global Airways indicates that it's cooperating with the Border Management Authority, which will assist with the repatriation or onward travel arrangements for the affected passengers. How true that is, we do not know at this particular stage. As we've been reporting, we're still waiting for some kind of communication from the Border Management Authority, the Border Management Authority that is expected to speak on this particular matter, but absolutely nothing as yet. Those passengers are still stuck on the tarmac. That I can confirm for you at the stage. In terms of if any agreement has been reached about what the way forward is, we certainly do not know, apart from the statement from Global Airways that says it's cooperating with what is assisting with the repatriation or onward travel arrangements. What does that mean? Will they be repatriated? Is there some kind of onward travel that will be taking place? We don't know at this particular stage.
Griselda, do we have any indication as to how long the passengers have been stuck on the tarmac?
From what we gather in terms of this statement, when SABC News understood that there was an aircraft that was due to land here at OR Tambo International Airport this morning, recall we did indicate that South Africa had declined the landing rights, and the aircraft was then diverted to several other countries on the African continent. Those countries had also declined landing rights for this particular aircraft. So at this particular stage, in terms of the statement that we see from Global Airways, it indicates that at 7:50 this morning, according to the statement. Now remember, all the statements that are being released, what we're certainly relying on as the South African media is to get an understanding from the authorities here in the country in terms of what exactly happened. What happened that the plane eventually landed in South Africa, because we do understand that there were no landing rights that had been granted. Why did the plane eventually land here at OR Tambo International Airport? There were allegations about no proper documentation, but this statement from Global Airlines says they were not. They had informed the authorities that there were passengers that were going to be arriving in South Africa, and they did not receive any information pertaining to the fact that they were not desired in South Africa. So at this particular stage, we're still waiting for information from authorities here in South Africa exactly about what happened here, what is going on, what is the next course of action, and we certainly do not know what is going to take place. I'm just going to take a look at my phone at this particular stage. Just give me a second. Let me just try to read this. Okay. All right, I cannot confirm at this stage what I'm seeing on my phone until it comes from a reliable source here in South Africa, and this would be the Border Management Authority. I'm just checking my phone once again. I do not have any communication from them at this stage. We're hoping that we will get some kind of indication in terms of what happens next, whether they will be allowed to be in South Africa, whether there's a repatriation that's going to be taking place. I certainly cannot confirm anything at this particular point. We will give a call to the Border Management Authority once again to establish what the latest is regarding this at the moment, but no official words at this particular stage at all.
Yeah, Chriselle, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. We'll come back as soon as new developments have come forward. We're going to take a break. We continue with Face the Nation on the other side of this. And welcome back. And after much pressure from civil society, the Western Cape Premier Alan Winde has finally released the long-awaited police ombudsman report on gang infiltration within the police service in the Western Cape. Winde has previously refused to make the 3-year-old document public. The report was commissioned in 2022 after a High Court ruling by High Court Judge Daniel Tulare suggesting that members of the 28th gang may have influenced senior police officers in their decision-making. The report found that claims of unacceptable conduct against a provincial police commissioner and his senior management were likely true. Alan Winde is the Premier of the Western Cape and joins me now. Alan, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Perhaps, and I think it's important that you give us a sense about why you had sat on the report for so long. I mean, it was commissioned and presumably completed in 2022.
Okay, so first of all, we must understand that everybody seems to think this is an investigation into police and gangs. That's not the case. We know that Judge Tulare made a statement in 2022 in a bail hearing where he said that there were gangs that sat at the top table of table of police, the 28th gang. So when the statement came out, I thought, well, what can I do as a premier? I mean, I don't have control over the police. I don't have any mechanism, but what can I do? So I asked the ombudsman a question. I said, can you please have a look and see what powers do I have? Should I put a commission of inquiry in place? How can I react to this information? So that was the report. The report came back to me. He tried to engage, all of the players. But remember, it was a bail application in a case where 14 members of the 28th gang were in jail. There were 2 of them making an application for bail, and then this report came out. That case actually has not even completed yet. It is still in court. And in that report, he said to me, because it's in the middle of a case, you cannot institute a commission of inquiry. So that's really what he said. He said the other powers you have, you can remove the police commissioner. But I said, well, that doesn't make any sense because the case when this happened was actually the previous commissioner. And this commissioner works with us. Then what it said was wait until the case is completed. But the real investigation has to happen with IPID. But then in the report, which made me not make it public immediately then, it said that 3 witnesses have been killed, and he warned that the investigating officers, both law enforcement officers that worked for the city of Cape Town and the SAPS officers that worked for the police, were also in danger because witnesses had been killed already. And of course, they were part of the arresting team. And it also had a line there that said even the criminal justice system, the judges and the prosecutors, they are also at risk. But because the names were in it, I then said, well, I'm not making this public. I phoned the police commissioner, said to him, there's some names in this report. You please need to make sure that these police officers that investigated this case are safe. I phoned the mayor. I said, you need to make sure that the law enforcement officers are safe. Then I thought, well, what can I do? And I engaged then further with judges. I engaged further with criminologists at university. And what came out of that discussion is put a lifestyle audit in place so that those police officers at least have a lifestyle audit, and you can pick up if any funding goes into their accounts. That would be the first step. So that's what I proceeded with. And we've been pushing ever since, 3 ministers pushing for that lifestyle audit. But then last week, people started saying, I'm hiding the investigation. I said, I've never been hiding the investigation.
So just hold on there for clarity. Just for clarity, Alan. When you started your answer, it seemed to me that you had corrected and said, look, what I actually asked from the Ombudsman was merely legal advice as to what the powers are that I can exercise in this instance. And that seems to be legal advice about the powers you have and not about the details, the minutiae and merits of the actual investigation in case and the characters and actors at play here. But yet you have a report with names of witnesses, judges and actual actors at play here. So it was more than just legal advice. It seemed that there was at least some level of investigation by the Ombudsman into the merits of the claim made by Judge Tulare. Which is it? Was it merely legal advice, or was there some sort of at least precursory investigation here?
Well, I presume you've seen the report now, it's public, and you'll see in the end of the report, he says, I can't get access to any of this information, but 3 witnesses are killed, and my advice is you need to be careful of these investigating officers. Their lives would probably also be at risk. That was it. And so what I've done is I've redacted those names, and I made that public in Parliament today. But also at the same time, I said I called for lifestyle audits, and we started putting pressure on IPID, because the real investigation has to come from IPID. They are the independent investigations organization that investigates any allegation against police officers.
So why don't you redact the names? Why don't you redact the names 3 years ago and then release the report then?
I mean, you know, what was the reason for it? I went out and said, I've asked for this. We're not putting a commission of inquiry in place. That was it. You know, I mean, every time I get a piece of legal advice, I'm not going to just put that out into the public domain and redact names or whatever. So, but when it came about, I asked our legal team, will you go and redact the names, see if I can put this out? They did exactly that, and I made it public in Parliament today.
So it took them 3 years to do that, Alan?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you'd asked me that, 6 months later, I would have done it then. It's not as if I was hiding anything. It was a legal advice. Have a look at the document, read it, make it up your own mind. But what I'm saying is that I've made it available. Shows you that there's no real issue there. The real issue is, why are people not pushing on IPID, saying to IPID, where's this investigation? It is a horrendous claim. And I'll tell you the facts around IPID, because we haven't let that go either. We've been calling on IPID ever since. There have been 2 meetings with our MEC for community safety with IPID. They eventually, 1 year after these accusations, started an investigation, gave us a report. That report said, but we can't give you a timeline, but we will give you better detail on this investigation within a year. That was up until now, a couple of weeks ago. We've written to IPID again to say it's now a year again. Where are you with it? What I did today is I also sent the redacted report to the Standing Committee at National Parliament. I sent it to the new acting police minister. I sent it to the provincial commissioner. I said that we are still waiting for the update on IPID, because that's actually who have to be investigating this. I've asked them to also investigate it. I've asked police minister after minister to say, let's get the lifestyle audits going at least, because that's a power that a province has. Because, I mean, people are being shot every single day, and we need action. And where's this investigation?
Yeah. What did you learn from this exercise about the limitations of the powers that the Office of the Premier has, that the Premier, in fact, has? And in what ways are you intending on exercising that power going forward?
So I think I've been for 7 years now calling for more power for provincial governments. It's interesting now that other provinces are now also calling for the same thing. We need to have more power in policing, because the crime that's happening in our province, it is in our province. It's the citizens that, I've been elected to serve, and we don't have policing powers. We have, in the interim, put LEAP officers in place. We've got 1,200 LEAP officers in the Western Cape through the city of Cape Town. They are deployed to 6 police precincts, which are the highest murder police precincts. But I mean, that's not a scratch in the ocean. At the moment, we've got 13,000 active police officers. We had 20,000 in 2019. We've only got 13,000 now. We should have 25,000, and we want more power of where they're deployed to, how they are deployed. But that, of course, just falls on deaf ears. But I think things are changing because other cities and other premiers are asking for the same thing.
Yeah.
We need more power. We can't leave everything to SAPS and IPID.
Yeah, Premier Alan Winde, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it talking to us there on that report. We're going to take a break. We continue on the other side of this. And welcome back. Tonight I asked you the question, do you think, or do you believe rather, that Cedric Nkabinde has a justifiable reason for presenting Parliament's ad hoc committee with a statement containing unverified information? Let's take a look at some of your tweets that have come through. Rabutata says, there is no justification for him to come unprepared. The reason is that he's trying to defend his boss, Senzo Mchunu. Bona Mnguni says to us, in this matter, I am questioning the behind-the-scenes processes of the ad hoc committee with regards to Nkabinde's misrepresentation of facts and mixing up of dates. Nkabinde must come back with verified information and stop coming up with excuses about his gadgets being seized. I wonder if Bona Mnguni would change their mind following that conversation I had there with the chairperson of the portfolio committee. Let's take a look at the following tweet. Tobela, good evening, Wara Oliver. I only heard and saw a disrespect in his answering. I mean, how can you write dates and thereafter you deny what has been written by yourself? He tried by all means to throw General Mkwanazi under the bus. That is from Sikhwate Ratlo Ka Mahopeng. And those are some of your tweets. We'll take a look at some of your actions a little bit later as well. But let me take you to this. A mining company is seeking a 40% stake in Nkosana Makate's Please Call Me settlement with Vodacom. Black Rock Mining says they signed an agreement when Makate's legal battle appeared financially insurmountable back in 2011. Under the agreement, the company says it was to cover all litigation costs in exchange for 40% of any eventual award. Asked for comment, Makate claimed that the company are fraudsters and will let the courts deal with the matter. We now speak to the attorney for Black Rock Mining, Senenhlanhla Mnguni of SN Mnguni Attorneys. Senenhlanhla, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Let's go back to 2011. An agreement was apparently signed between Black Rock and Makate for financial assistance. At the time, how much did Black Rock pay towards Makate's legal battles?
Look, there was an initial payment of 500,000, Oliver, and then subsequent payments made. In total, our client submits that they made payments to the tune rather of 4.5 million rand.
And was this a once-off payment, or was this, per the agreement, meant to stagger out until the end of his legal battles?
That was the nature of the agreement. As and when monies were required by the legal representatives of Mr. Makate, our client would then make these payments. I know there's a dispute with regards to the amounts, and I think, again, my client has produced proofs of payment in as far as the replying affidavit, which was filed earlier today. So, yeah, it's clear that there was a tendering of services by our client and certainly a fulfillment of its obligations in terms of the agreement by our client.
Who was this money paid to? We're talking here about a grand total of 5 million rand.
It was paid to, there's a proof of payment to the attorneys of Mr. Makate, being Stimela and Lover, attorneys based in Pretoria.
Yeah. And are these the same attorneys that saw the case through to the end?
Indeed so, Oliver. In actual fact, it's quite a complicated matter in that, you know, the attorneys and my client were at some stage effectively partners. So there's a bit of a conflict which my client alleges in its papers. And yeah, it's quite a complicated matter.
Take us to that. What was the relationship between Black Rock Mining as well as Liber Attorneys?
So Black Rock appointed Liber attorneys. In fact, there was a meeting of minds and an agreement to reformulate Mr. Makate's legal strategy by my client and Stimela and Liber attorneys, which were appointed. They appointed the counsel, and there were various other, things that were tendered and advanced by my client in respect of the attorneys that Mr. Makate ultimately used until the finality of this matter.
Yeah. Was the agreement an agreement between BlackRock Mining and Mr. Makate, or was the agreement signed between Stimula and Labour attorneys and BlackRock Mining?
The agreement was between Mr. Makate and an individual who's now late by the name of Chris Skuman, who was an advocate. It was on behalf of a company to be formed, which would be nominated, and that company was then effectively BlackRock. So that's what's transpired there.
Yeah. So what was the role of Chris Skuman here?
Chris Skuman was someone that Mr. Makate had identified to help him with his claim against Vodacom. Of course, Mr. Skuman himself did not perhaps have the means to see it through, and he then approached my client in 2011. On the 7th of November 2011, an agreement was thereafter concluded to support Mr. Makate with legal services. My client would bear the risk in as far as making payment, and Mr. Makate was indemnified from any risk in as far as payment of the legal fees.
Yeah. So again, I then have to ask this question again, just for clarity, because Chris Kuma now enters the chat here. Who are the signatories to the contract?
It's Mr. Makate and Chris Skuman.
So they were the signatories, and Chris Skuman was an interlocutor on behalf of BlackRock. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, well, the company was to be nominated, and it was thereafter nominated. There was even an arbitration to the effect where it was in fact confirmed by the arbitrator and Mr. Makate under oath that BlackRock was the nominated company in terms of the agreement.
Nominated to do what?
To be the funder of Mr. Makate's litigation against Vodacom.
Right. And so it seems, though, that the agreement was between Chris Skuman and Nkosana Makate, and that Chris Skuman was acting on behalf of BlackRock rather than BlackRock being a signatory first instance. Am I understanding that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
Well, that makes the case a little bit precarious and perhaps complex, don't you think?
It is complex, but I mean, an arbitrator has already found that BlackRock was correctly nominated. So we're not worried about that. We're not concerned about that. My client is, I mean, and if you even look at Mr. Makate's submissions in his affidavit, I think that's something that's common cause, that BlackRock was nominated. The only issues of contention really are whether the agreement was cancelled, which Mr. Makate submits he did, whereas we and the arbitrator state that there was never any valid cancellation of the agreement. And then there's the issue of prescription and waiver and estoppel, which are raised by Mr. Makate, all to which we feel we have valid defenses too.
Yeah. What went wrong between BlackRock and BlackRock Mining on the one hand and Stimula and Labour attorneys?
Of course, you'd appreciate I'm an attorney and a creature of instruction here, so I wasn't intimately involved in their daily affairs and the relationship with the parties, between the parties. But I do understand from having consulted with my client that it seems that closer to the Constitutional Court award in 2016, it seemed that people were now positioning themselves, anticipating that there might be a ruling in Mr. Makate's favor. And if you read my client's affidavit, it seems that that's when he started becoming sidelined. There was then an agreement between Mr. Makate and Reigning Men, which was concluded, which was signed by Chris Skuman on behalf of Reigning Men.
Who's Reigning Men in this instance?
It's a complicated matter, Oliver, but there was an addendum to the initial funding agreement, and Chris Skuman signed it with Mr. Makate. There's now allegations that Mr. Makate's signature in that agreement was forged, but it seemed like they wanted to divert from BlackRock to Reigning Men.
Yeah. And just lastly, has Vodacom responded to first instance your letter of demand and now your notice of motion to pursue an interdict application?
Yep, they've responded. They've responded, and we've been advised that they will abide by the decision of the courts.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Senzo Mchunu, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Senzo Mchunu is the legal representative of BlackRock Mining. Well, it's a story that's going to unfold quite interestingly in the courts, and we'll bring you all the updates as it plays out. We're going to take a break. We continue on the other side of this. Well, this is where we leave it, in fact, from myself and the team here at Face the Nation. It's goodbye for now. Cheers.